Hello, my name is Gina Jones, and I am an independent occupational health consultant. And today I will be speaking with you, salesmen and saleswomen, about cell phone use hazard marketing. Here's a brief overview about what we will be talking about. I want to talk to you about three main things, and each subject has two subtopics that I will discuss. We will get into further detail about those in just a minute. The first is physical hazards, and in that umbrella of things, we will discuss driving as well as attention. The second main topic will be health risks, and in that, we will discuss cancer as well as brain activity. And the third main topic is social effects, and we will discuss social anxiety as well as loneliness. So, the first, physical hazards. The first aspect of physical hazards that I want to talk about is driving. The main point that I want you all to understand is that cell phone use hinders driving abilities. Have you ever, almost been hit by someone in their vehicle or noticed a reckless driver, only to discover that they were operating their cell phone while they were driving? And then when you saw their phone, you say to yourself, oh, well, no wonder they're driving that way, or that explains it, they're on their phone. Cell phones are huge distractions for drivers, but many don't realize that they are being distracted. 24% of individuals in one study were found to be using their cell phone within the 10-minute period preceding an accident. Now, me personally, I do believe that a percentage that that represented just the US population well would be more than 24%. I do think that it cell phones have a lot to do with the way we drive, and many of us don't notice it, but I do think that they have a lot to do with a lot of the accidents that we are having nowadays. The risk of being involved in an accident is 4 times higher when a cell phone is being used. The second thing I want us to look at as far as physical hazards is attention. There is a lot of evidence from different sources that has established a link between attention and driving. They do go hand in hand, attention and driving. They have a lot to do with each other. In a recent study, 37.8% of the accidents were due to driver inattention and perceptual errors. The study conducted by Strayer and his colleagues involved visual and auditory information. This suggests that the locus of the effect is at the central attentional level and not due to structural interference or overload of a perceptual or response channel. And what this means is that it's not any kind of obstruction of view, there's no object in the way, there's not too much input, it is the area of the input. And so when you're using your cell phone while you're driving, your focus, the cell phone use, that task in itself is at a central attentional level, which means that everything else that you're doing while you're using your cell phone becomes secondary. It becomes a secondary task. Even when participants direct their gaze at objects in the driving environment, they often fail to see them when they are talking on a cell phone because attention has been directed away from the external environment and toward an internal cognitive context associated with the phone conversation. And so When someone is driving and they're using their cell phone, they may think that they have full control of their car because they are physically able to multitask. They're able to have one hand on the wheel and have their cell phone in their other hand and surf the web or send a text message or make a phone call. They're physically able to do that, but they don't, because their focus is directed at their cell phone. Um, it's their focus is in the internal environment, not the external. So they are still missing things such as different traffic signals and different signs and objects in the road. They don't catch everything because their main focus is on their cell phone. The next big topic I want to discuss is health risks. Now, first, we are going to talk about brain activity. Cell phone use is related to higher brain activity. This can lead to faster reaction times, which faster reaction times is a good thing. However, it also leads to sleep disruptions, and that is the downside of it. Cell phone use can lead to microwave syndrome. Now, you may be wondering, what is microwave syndrome? Microwave syndrome, excuse me, is when you have symptoms like headache, fatigue, muscular pains, loss of appetite, sleepiness, poor memory and concentration, emotional instability, labile, which means easily altered cardiovascular function, and nausea as a result of EMF exposure. Many people don't know about microwave syndrome, but it is something that cell phone use can possibly lead to, and so it is something that is important to know. It was concluded by Palmer and his colleagues that cell phones have some ill effects on the health and well being in general, and that there is a need for exhibiting caution before using these gadgets for prolonged periods. Now, Palmer in his study, they did not find a causal relationship, but they did find that there was a correlation. And that is why he said, we do need to exhibit caution. It is important. The next thing that we're going to talk about is cancer. Now, in 2011, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified mobile phone radiation possibly carcinogenic. This means that it is possible that mobile phone radiation causes cancer. Further research is needed because cell phones are still fairly new. They were introduced to us not too long ago, and scientists will need to study long-term effects on our bodies. So just studying our bodies over 20 years won't really give us those for sure answers that we're looking for all the time. And so as far as cell phone use and the small amounts of radiation that it gives off over and looking at those effects on the body, you need more time to study that. You need a lot of different clinical trials. You need a lot of different cohort studies to be conducted. And so that is why we don't have any for sure yes or no, or any, anything that is set in stone right now. There's still a lot of research being conducted on this. Studies have found a correlation between cell phone use, which is, what I was just saying, and increased brain tumor risk, but no causal relationship. So that is the thing that's the hang up for right now. So we will have to wait on further research, but it is important that we do know about the correlation relationships because those are important as well. The last topic that I want to discuss is social effects. So, first, we're going to talk about social anxiety. Now, some people use their cell phones to avoid awkward situations. They may pretend to receive a call or a text or use social media as an excuse to not have to look up in different public environments, public settings. Now, it has been observed that huge increases in the use of smartphones is paired with a diminishing ability to communicate and socialize face to face. I believe that the younger generations are suffering from this specific issue a bit more than the older ones are because the younger generations are being introduced to technology and cell phones during a lot sooner. So during those stages where their communication skills are developing, they are being introduced to technology and at the same time that those skills are developing. And so I do think that technology is hindering communication skills from early ages, from people are introducing their babies to cell phones. And so it is something I believe that the younger generations suffer with to a larger extent than the older generations. It was also reported that things such as low self esteem, extroversion, higher approval motivation, and higher self monitoring were more frequently seen in people who suffer from mobile phone addiction. Although our focus today isn't specifically cell phone addiction, we must still consider the fact that cell phones are much more than just mobile phones. They are cameras, they are gaming systems, and they offer access to all kinds of websites and social media applications. The overuse of cell phones is common and it is increasing, and it can easily lead to things like social anxiety. Now, on to our last and final subtopic, loneliness. Now, social anxiety and loneliness are related states. If you have one, you are at a higher risk for the other. Now, in some cases, you can have one or the other, but it just puts you at a higher risk for having the other if you have one. So, they are related states. And so, social anxiety it leads to social withdrawal and isolation. When someone withdraws and becomes isolated, they aren't able to be a part of social networks. And this is when loneliness begins for many people. Many younger people in today's society prefer texting rather than talking on the phone, but this can be a problem. A recent online survey revealed that cell phone owners declaring a generalized preference for texting on their cell phones were both lonelier and more anxious than those who preferred talking. As humans, we long for feelings of belonging. We want to feel like we belong. We long for intimate relationships. We don't just want a whole bunch of acquaintances. We want to have close people close to us in our intimate circle. Now, while social contact made through our phones may eliminate the quote unquote lonely experience, texting and messaging via social media is not enough to replace a vocal, real time phone call or a physical visit. So, when it comes to you all marketing your products, these are things that you all must be cognizant of so that you can translate this information in a way that is easily understood by the consumer. We want consumers to be educated about their cell phone so that they can make information or so that they can make informed decisions about how they use their cell phones. So here are my references, and these are available to you. They are accessible in case you all want to go and dig a little deeper into the resources that I use. You can do a little bit of your own research. And so this is available to you. Thank you so much for your time.